Right.
It's
Building
really
a
nice.
multi-million-dollar home.
And you're talking about 5,000 square foot, 4,000
Yeah.
square foot, they're not small, they're not small.
No,
Fine.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, all right, I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is the minutes from our previous meeting. I'll let you start.
You saw me writing up.
Well, I also know that if you starting on line 115,
No, I'm starting on line 65.
okay,
I'd like to change the last word that says can to the word would. This would then be presented to the planning board. And then
Oh.
keep going further, who must, not who would. But who must hold at least one public hearing. And then at the end of that, in the parentheses there, not the, in the,
yeah,
it's current STR owners registered with the town. Currently registered with the town.
current is are registered,
Current STR owners registered with the town will be
Okay.
grandfathered. Because the
Right.
grandfathering are the ones that are registered. Not the
Yep.
ones that say, I've been doing it for 10 years without registering. And that's all I had for that.
okay,
And then on 115,
yeah,
I'd actually like to go to 121.
Yeah.
And just at the end, there was another crack and then add the words. And an old repair that happened when the town ran the electric lines to the community ball field. Concession stand. Community ball field concession stand. I don't recall when that was, but it was. It was a long time ago. I want to say it was. 2013, 12, 11, 12, somewhere around there. I don't know the exact dates. What did you suggest? If we added, there was another crack and an old repair that happened when the town
yeah,
ran.
I would say
the
let's
electric lines.
do a whole new sentence.
Okay,
Afterward, in parentheses, it says call to construction, replace the pipe on 8/13/23.
mhm.
It said, just a whole new sentence that says the town.
The town, while running electric lines to the community ball field concession stand.
Can we say, first of all, that the Haynes allowed the town to put a
Good.
telephone pole on their
On
property
their property,
and run power to the,
community ball field
Community
concession
ball field.
stand,
while the power was being
Run.
run, the
town,
town's contractor broke
their
the
sewer
Haynes
pipe.
sewer pipe.
Thank you.
Okay, because up to here, we don't even know why the town is
Right.
paying for this.
Right.
It's
Right.
because number one, they let us put a,
Right.
put a telephone pole on their property, and number two,
We broke it.
the contractor we hired. broke it. Can you say that?
But it's still us, but yeah,
Okay. All right,
which was repaired, although. The crack that was 8 to 10 inches away wasn't noticed until it became an issue now. Hopefully, watching this video, Jane can make sense of all that and add it to the
I'll
minutes.
try to reiterate if she
Yeah.
can.
It sounds like that they had a problem with their sewer and now the town's gonna pay for it.
Yeah, no,
I just
right.
explained that we caused that.
how we even got involved.
Right.
Just put a little star that said see audio minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. And then I had one other thing a little further down. when
Do you,
you're
do you
done.
want me to get wording for that one, or?
No, I think we can,
Okay.
yeah, I think we can.
From,
On 129. It
Yeah.
says needs to paint the white dash marks across the Main Street crosswalks. Not the towns,
all of them, right, the Main Street.
just the Main Street ones is where the issues are, not at the ends of the roads per se. And that's what I had.
Okay.
Yeah, got Haynes spelled 2 different ways there.
Yep, you're right.
I did not notice that.
115 spelled one way,
I believe
120.
the Y is the correct.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
So we gotta change 122 and 126.
Yeah. That's not, spell check isn't always the best thing there. So I'll make a motion to approve the August 28 minutes as amended.
Second half.
All those in favor?
Aye. We also have August 28th non-public meeting minutes. Which. Has no description on what was discussed. Oh, that was the one I couldn't email to her. Did you forward her that email?
Yes.
Because it's not in here at all. Hang on a minute and I'll bring that up. And put it in there. Give me just a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Be personal, I'll just. Okay. Check. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is continuation of the public hearing for the Lincoln Industrial Business Park in regards to modifying the covenants and deed restrictions on those
Thank you.
lots. Did we hear anything back from Sullivan?
I haven't.
Can we send him a letter that says we've not voted on this?
Pending your,
Just
Yeah.
pending input from you. That, Mike Donahue has already weighed in on, on it and is in favor of it.
Mhm.
And we would like to vote this in at our next meeting.
Okay.
So just to keep the public hearing concept, I guess, alive, I'll make a motion that we again continue the public hearing until the 25th of September. Is that our next meeting?
It is.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, before we get into the town manager's report, just a couple of things here. One is the litigation we have with, on the assessments with Public Service of New Hampshire, which is now Eversource, but with their tax appeal from 2017 to 2021, what we're fighting about now.
Mhm.
And we have a proposal from George Sansucci to represent the town of Lincoln along with 52 other towns in this case, which Allentown is the lead litigant, I guess you'd call them, and the other 52 of us are tag along. But either way, we split the bill up between us. Our projected cost is 10,000. And that's over 2 years, probably that we'll be spending that.
Yes.
The last one that we did, you said was like 89, just under 9 grand.
Mhm.
So we.
And I think that came in an email form, if I'm not mistaken, if I saw that.
You may have seen it, it did come in an email form, yes.
Yeah. And it talked about like $500-something thousand, $574,000 was the value that was in dispute, or. And then another.
Oh, I think you are referencing the New Hampshire Electric Co-op's
Yeah.
deduction in value. This is strictly just for PSNH.
Oh, okay, all right.
This
Yeah.
is them, we, in the years 17, 18, 19, and 20, we denied abatements for PSNH. It went to BTLA and nothing came of it, so now we are going to the Superior Court to, I guess, contest the assessments. This is a contract for our utility appraiser, Sansucci and Associates, to work on the town's behalf to gather the paperwork and the discovery, and essentially we use their values, so they are going to help us justify those values.
The next
The next thing,
the next thing is
the next thing is from Sansucci also,
right, which he's given us the 2023 assessment updates, which is what you were talking about.
Mhm.
So this is just the contract that we're hiring him at the estimated cost of $10,000 over the next 2 years to
To work with our attorneys on our behalf.
right. And he gives hourly rates here. And this is that he's recommending that each of the towns budget $10,000 for the trial work. Which will be in 2023, so it'll start this year and then continue into 2024. So. I mean, honestly, I don't see any other, unless we're gonna just give up the lawsuit. And let them. I don't say win, but let their values be allowed in the town of Lincoln.
Do you know the difference in value to the town as far as a dollar? What they're claiming, what we're claiming, and the difference in the dollar value, or tax value attached to those dollars.
I'm not off the top of my head, I have that information in the office, but not off the top of my head about.
I mean, is it substantial, the 100,000, you think 6 figures, or?
Oh, it's,
It's 7, the 2023 value, which they're not contesting yet,
yeah, right.
is $750,000, $755,000.
But I mean, but what are they claiming? They must have a number. Well, we figure it's only worth
They were in the
6.
tens of thousands.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. That's just the improvements.
Yeah.
With the land and land rights, it's 1.4 million.
That's
Okay.
the form that I saw.
And they're, I forget what they're contesting, I mean, they're saying it should be, but it's,
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's significantly.
yeah.
It was
Yeah,
worth
you
by
were
spending
that-
10,000.
It's of thousands, and they were in the tens of thousands
Yeah,
the
okay.
last time.
So it's worth us
Oh,
spending
no
$10,000.
question. It was last time,
And
yeah.
similar, so we're in, they did this previously, and we were in some sort of, I don't wanna call it class action, because I don't think that's the right
group,
word.
right,
A
group,
group
yeah.
of towns, and they prevailed, and the town had to, I think, give them back roughly $300,000, am I
Yeah,
correct? in that?
yeah,
Bill, but not
200
its total
something,
value.
but not the total value,
It
right?
was two something.
Two something, it was
Right,
$200 and
right.
something thousand the town had to pay back in essentially,
Actual dollars.
Actual dollars.
Not just reduced the,
not just reduced actual dollars paid
Yeah, that
back
we paid
over a 2-year period of time. It was split up from 2 years.
Mhm.
We paid the last payment last year. We paid the first payment the year before. So this is just them continuing that for a new set of years.
Right,
But the tax, how utilities are assessed have changed since
This
this
has
new
changed it,
lawsuit.
yes.
So this is
Yes.
changing,
how they're, yes,
right, how they can even calculate their own values.
Right.
Cause now there's been a House bill that's been put into law that says this is how utilities are taxed.
Right, and he notes that in that report.
yeah.
right. And we did look, Jonna did look, because I was curious, before when we had to pay them back. We spent less than what the difference was. So if we had not contested it, we would have,
And just give them the refund.
it was
It would have cost. us
more than what it
Right.
cost us to,
I got
exact.
And legal fees, it costs us very little because
Right.
we're in this group of 100 other
Exactly.
towns, 50 other towns. We get bills for $24. So
Thank you.
legally, it's worth us, I think, to move forward.
Right, right.
All right,
I'll make a motion then
yep,
to approve the 2-year contract, up to $10,000.
Well, no, it's his estimate is.
His estimate is right.
Right, so I
in
wouldn't
the
say,
contract, if we approve the contract, there isn't a price in it. There
Right.
is a budget recommendation.
And an
oh,
hourly
that's
rate, and
an hourly
The
rate.
hourly rates, no, I saw that.
you did, it's right.
Yeah, right here. So we're
There's a rate,
approving
yeah.
these
Yeah.
rates depending on whether it's a principal engineer, research engineer, technical, et cetera.
That's when you just type another line, You say not to exceed.
I think the hope is that because we've already done this once,
Right,
it won't be as painful going through it again,
And this
because, right,
legislature that has been
right,
decided.
So
so,
that's it, the 2023 numbers are based on those new rules.
correct.
So there shouldn't be any.
Exactly,
They
yeah.
shouldn't have room for
It
contesting,
was prior to that, where it was kind of
Right.
wishy-washy.
right?
Right,
A motion to accept the contract with, George Sansucci as proposed.
So, I'll
Is that the
amend
motion?
that was
and
my-
I'll second that.
Yes, all those in favor?
Thank you, aye.
Yeah, I think they said if this goes to trial, they are hoping or expecting it to go to trial next.
All right, and then the other thing that we just referred to from, Sansucci is his report on the values in 2023.
Right.
There's a summary chart and then there's a breakout of each one. We don't have to vote on that. It is,
It is what it
this is
is,
his report.
yeah, and the most significant finding you're gonna find in that, I've included in my town manager's report too, but I'll let you know now, is the reduction in the assessed value of New Hampshire Electric Co-op. That reduction from 2021 to 2023 is roughly $5.5 million. And that is because based on the new law, 70% of each asset's original, it's based on 70% of the asset's original cost, and then 30% of the asset's net book cost. So 30% today, 70% when they put it back in the 60s or 70s. And that's why we see that huge jump, and because we only do utilities, the major utility overhaul every 2 years, we're making up for essentially a 2-year gap, so that's why it's such a drastic reduction.
All right, I see the Forest Service special use permit that we signed is here. Is that just a copy left over from last week? Our signatures are on it. Mark Bogosian signed it, but I didn't see a signature
I
from.
think that's the easement. I think this is your draft
Oh, that's the easement.
That is your,
sorry.
yeah, so that is the draft Forest Service permit for the water tank. I have forwarded it to Jason Dennis as well for his review, just to look things over.
Okay,
But that is the draft before we formalize anything. I just wanted to get it in front of the board. You have it electronically too, Jane sent it to you on Friday.
Yeah.
And just if you saw anything glaring, I didn't see anything. Sam's, Kenny's gone through it, Nate's gone through it. I did, like I said, send it to Jason as well, just to get his input real quick before we finalize anything at this point.
okay. So we've already signed it.
That's the
You wait.
easement,
That's
yes.
the easement, but
Once we,
hasn't, the ranger hasn't signed. but
you
we're
have,
waiting.
you haven't even signed that yet either. This is the draft.
This is the draft. All right, so we're waiting for Jason.
Waiting for Jason. But wanted to get you, your eyes on it.
All right, can we do the
Yes.
yield tax things? All right, we have two bills to,
But these are the bills,
sorry.
these are the orders to
go through.
report.
These are two bills to send out on the yield tax levy. One is at Loon Mountain. Yield tax due to the town is gonna be $3,122.99. We don't have to vote on these, do we? It's just this.
No,
Just
bill-
need to be
bill
signed.
going up.
those are the two timber cuts that we received reports for. We used the state of New Hampshire's spreadsheet and calculations and base price for the different types of softwood, hardwood, chips, all that kind of stuff.
Sign it again, come back,
You signed two spots, yeah,
sign back there too.
yeah, one's ours to keep and one's for the state.
And then one is for Mark Bogosian at South Peak. In the amount of $1,968.68.
No, sign it again. There should be two.
There, right at the top of you.
There's that.
You did that one.
I know, but I didn't date it.
Oh, gotcha.
I noticed on that one. Then also with the timber tax, we have two unpaid timber tax,
Unreported.
unreported. So they paid us.
No,
No,
they haven't
they haven't
reported
they
it
haven't
yet, so
reported,
we
right, so
can't
we don't
send them
know.
the bill,
Okay.
correct.
This one is for the landing, the Loon Landing development. And the second one is for Karen Moulton. From Hooksett, New Hampshire, and then it's map 132. Lots 36, 37, 39, 50, 51, and 52. I have no idea what that is. Don't know if I can remember it. Shane's gonna tell us in just a minute.
I'm gonna try. It's 059. Was one of them. 132.59.
132. What the map?
132, lots
36,
36,
37, 39.
50, 51, and 52.
Nope. 37, 39.
Nope.
50. 51.
Nope.
52.
What's her name? What's the last name?
Moulton. MOULTON, maybe that's why she,
Nope. MOULTON.
yeah,
Nothing. What's the first name?
Karen.
Well, this is the same thing. OJ,
What?
Moon Landing in the same lots,
Oh.
that's why.
No. Nothing.
That can't, there's something wrong with that. Then.
See those,
Mhm.
those match that.
These aren't right, we're gonna have to do these again.
Okay.
Okay.
Good catch.
Yeah, no, there's nothing there. Have Jack sign that.
Yeah, this is not right. What are the map and lot numbers up in the landing though?
Hang on, I'll
Because now I'm thinking that these are. The operations the same? Oh, Moulton is the logger. Loon Landing, they're the same, this is for the same report we haven't received. Moulton is the logger,
Okay,
Loon Landing is the owner,
got you, so they go to both.
so they go to both.
Yeah.
That's why they, that's why.
Okay, but the map and lot is wrong, right? Because what's the map and lot up in the landing?
Hang on, let's see. That's the landing, this one. This one on Buck Road is. 132,016.
go the back story.
So 132 is
Is
the
correct,
correct map.
but 36, 37, 39, 50, those are incorrect.
Look up here. 132,036,
Mhm.
one of them,
Yeah,
yeah, that's up on Buck Road,
is that is that a Lynch property?
let's see. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so this is correct. Yeah, one is
Okay,
for the locker,
it
one's
is
for.
correct,
yeah.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
back at
I'll
it.
try. All right,
Sweet.
you're next.
Should never have doubted our staff.
Well, when I saw that they had the same operation number, then I was like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
that place, yeah,
Oh, I didn't. That, good idea.
okay.
All right. After all of that, I think now we can go into the town manager's report.
And that did it, all right. South Peak Water Tank, so we briefly touched upon it, you have the draft permit or service permit in your folder for the water tank. Last week, Nate, Sam Penny and I sat down and we discussed the US, the Forest Service commitments that they would like to see and the project schedule, so the 5 major points that the Forest Service wanted us to incorporate in the permit and kind of commit to is the deeded the final easements for the access roads and utilities are required. When we submitted the original permit, we didn't have the meets and bounds because that was subject to change based on their input. So we will start putting together the final easements and the final meets and bounds of what the road and the utilities are gonna look like, and then we'll have that just recorded, which is relatively easy.
Now, does that include, are we doing a meets and bounds of the Forest Service property that's gonna have a,
We've already did that.
okay,
We had to do that this summer. We had to do an additional survey up top this summer on the plateau that they wanted us to move
okay,
things
so
to
it's on the new location.
on the new location, yes. So that has already been completed. This is truly for the access road and the utilities.
Got it.
So, but we will have 2 easements. We'll have a construction easement
Right.
and then a permanent easement, right? No tree felling in June or July, which is due to the bats. So that kind of limits our time next summer to get this access road in. We need to do it prior
Can we get
to
it
that.
this winter?
there's discussion on how we will proceed moving forward, but they need to do the geotechnical work first in order to do some of that. So we talked about that,
Right.
how fast we can move forward, but that was one thing that is a stipulation.
Yeah, cut in April or May either, so then you can't cut June or July, so
Yeah,
that's,
I
if we
know.
don't get it cut before the March stop, we're
Right.
gonna get it cut,
We're, like I said, we discussed the time crunch that
Right.
puts us in.
right?
Minimize natural disruption with the access road, we know all about that. Survey property boundary if disturbed during construction, so we must carry a survey allowance, so if we go outside what we originally thought we'd have to have that resurveyed, and reestablish the disturbance area. And then report findings of injured or dead bats in the construction area. So.
26,
There won't be any.
at Fenway Park, Red Sox, dead bats.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So those were their commitments, which are relatively easy for us to follow. Like I said, the only one that's really gonna be a hiccup for us is when we can get up there to cut trees. So, but we will make a workaround. So the proposed schedule that Sam is putting forward is, the contract, the final design contract will be signed this month, hopefully, drafted and signed this month. Next month, October 2023, we will get the final permit in hand from DES. And they will start conducting the subsurface work, the geotechnical work. From October until February of next year, 2024, they will do their preliminary designs. February 24 to May 2024 will be the final design period. The project will go out to bid in June. The bid will be awarded in July of next year, and then August through November. They will do the access road and the utility work, and then tank construction will be in the following year, in May 25 through August, 12 to 16 weeks.
Gotcha.
I did cross-reference that with our agreement with Mark, the last agreement we had. And I do believe in that, I don't know what we exactly called it, the line of credit or whatever, the last agreement we signed with them.
Yes.
Said 2025, so we will hopefully be right on target and right on track. I think it said October 2025, so if we will be close, but hopefully on target. Good. So moving forward. Questions, comments, concerns?
Yes.
Because we all want it to go faster. And if they have preliminary design done by February of 2024,
Mhm.
it seems like they could do the tree cutting in March of 2024,
If we could, weather permitting,
weather permitting.
right?
You know, as long as the ground isn't thawed, but up there,
I mean, that would
thinking it wouldn't.
accelerate it huge.
Well, I will say this, there's only two contractors, I guess, two major contractors that do the concrete water tank structures. Sam is working with one of them on another project in another community, and they have said that that they're already full for the first half of 2024.
Gotcha.
So it's really gonna be based on availability, I think, of the contractors. Obviously, it's gonna go out to bid, it will go through the normal bidding process, obviously, so. It depends if another contractor comes in who could make it be done in a faster period of time, but I think that is a major factor in also in the timeline.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's at least it's moving
Yes.
forward.
It's moving forward.
Moving forward, right? We're no longer at a standstill.
There's no delay, and we, got through that need for review process more quickly than we anticipated.
Sure, right.
We're in a good spot.
We're right. We're no longer stagnant. We're moving forward, and we'll do the best that we can. Okay, moving on, new police station, RFQ and bidding, we received, oh, I forgot to bring them in, they're in my office, but I will bring them in, at the end of the meeting. We received 5 sets of qualifications from general contractors interested in bidding on the project. All 5 met the insurance and bonding requirements for the project. So we have, decided to have all 5 of them bid on the project, invite all 5 to bid on the project. The bids went out this afternoon. They were set to go out tomorrow, but they were done relatively early, so they went out this afternoon. With a due date of 10/13 at 2 p.m. Our procurement policy says, for a project at this scale, needs to have a public bid opening. So the architects are planning to be here at 10/13 at 2 o'clock Monday, 10/13 at 2 o'clock to open the bids. And then hopefully we will have that to review them, compare them, make any sort of questions, comments, concerns regarding the bids. And then we hope to have the selectmen formally accept one at the 10/23 meeting the following Monday. Okay. This kind of bleeds into something later on in my town manager report, but it kind of bleeds into upcoming meetings. Our next meeting right now is scheduled for 9/25, which we just discussed, which is, I'm sure, already on everybody's calendar. The following meeting is scheduled for 10/9, that's Columbus Day or Indigenous People Day. So I didn't know if the board would like to either meet that Tuesday or meet on the 16th, the day we plan on having the bid opening, and the 23rd, have back-to-back meetings those 2 weeks, or whatever works best for your schedule.
On my calendar, I have October 10th as the scheduled Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Which is that Tuesday,
Yeah,
right?
but we must have talked about that.
I have that on my schedule too, but I didn't remember having that conversation, so I put it on for discussion.
I'm
Yeah,
good
on
with,
the calendar,
It's there too,
it's the
yeah.
10th.
So,
Okay.
is everyone okay with the 10?
I'm good with that.
Perfect, okay, easy peasy then.
And like I said, when it's closer, usually we
budget
get into
time.
budget season, we meet weekly. And if we need to do that,
Sure.
even if it's 3 weeks in a row and then we go back to biannual, whatever, bi-weekly, whatever works, honestly.
Sure. And then obviously it's an open invitation for the selectmen. If you all would like to be here for the bid opening, we'll schedule it as a regularly scheduled meeting and we'll get it, posted and whatnot.
You said that's on October 13th at 2 o'clock.
The 16th, Monday, the 16th. Did I put the 13th in there?
Wait, at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, you said on the 13th.
Oh, I did say the 13th, because we changed the date. We gave them to Monday. We gave them a little bit more time. 16, yeah,
16th.
it's the 16th, Monday, the 16th. at 2
I
o'clock.
can't be here for that,
Okay,
but that doesn't mean that.
So did you change the due date also to that,
that is the due date,
the 16th?
the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we changed it. We gave them the weekend we wanted to give them a full 30 days.
But no, at 2 o'clock. Okay, so we won't be having a selectmen's meeting that day, but we'll be having the bid opening, so that still should be
It'll have an
A
agenda,
notice,
we'll
notice.
notice it, yeah, we'll go through all the motions as if it's a public
the
meeting.
only thing on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, and like I said, I do have all the qualifications in my office if you wanted to take them over the next few weeks and look at them. They're all were from LBA, I don't know these companies, but LBA said they've worked with every single one of those companies. They all are reputable. They all have municipal experience. They all can meet the bonding requirements. So we were all pleasantly surprised with, I think, the amount of bids we received and having them all be qualified. Contenders in the race, so. Utility updates, we already went over that. The biggest significant reduction we have is the New Hampshire Co-op. we've already discussed that. 2023 paving projects. So, yeah, Nate is finally in the process of obtaining quotes for the 2023 paving projects. He just received one back from GMI. He's still waiting from Pike. The roads being considered are Church Street, School Street, Pollard Road from the stop sign to the east edge of Tammy Jeanette's property. Lower Black Mountain. Nate also included the deteriorated section of the bike path, the transfer station, and the Cankret parking area. So we should have those back, I'm assuming, by this week, and then hopefully schedule them and see what the price tag comes in. I know right now Nate's they're waiting to see what the Kank's gonna come in at, can we push it off another year or?
Actually, the prices are pretty reasonable right now. I just had a couple quotes done myself.
You did?
Was pleased with it. Yeah.
Good. So we'll see those and hopefully we'll have that scheduled in the next few weeks here and we'll get those projects moving.
Fantastic.
Kank Rec Area Facility meetings. We have 2 community forums scheduled to discuss the Kank Rec Area Facility and programming. The dates are 9/20 and 10/5 at 6:30 p.m. at the Kank Rec Area and also via Zoom. I plan to be in attendance on 9/20. And we're gonna set up a Zoom and Cheryl Reardon has a little owl camera thing and we're gonna try to get as much input as possible. Stuart Anderson has offered to kind of facilitate the conversation and I guess
Emails have gone out to anyone that had been interested or anybody that we think could be an interested party. I know it's up on Facebook.
Mhm.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
website.
I got an email inviting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll be going, I know, to the 21st, the 5th, I'm at a conference over in Maine.
Does that need to be posted as a selectman meeting as well? Yes, if we're gonna be there.
Yeah, we'll just put it on as just for err on the side of caution, we'll just put it on
Absolutely, yeah.
as, yeah,
Well, if we're all there and we're all gonna talk about town business, then it needs to be a
okay.
scheduled
We'll
selectman
put
meeting
an agenda for that too. Okay.
in minutes and all fun stuff.
Shebang.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're welcome.
So yeah, so that's off and running. The Pines on and off-site road construction bonds. We discussed this at the last meeting about the potential sale of the parcels up in Forest Ridge and then who would be responsible for the road construction bonds thereafter, the on-site and the off-site road construction bonds. I spoke with the purchaser of the Forest Ridge lots and they're still currently in their 30-day due diligence period. He was unaware of the road bonds or the transfer of that responsibility to uphold the bonds. So I have sent them to Jason Dennis to get his legal guidance on how we proceed moving forward if and when these parcels are sold. So because if this sale falls through, there would probably be another one coming down the line at some point in
Right.
time, and I think we need to know where we stand with those road bonds.
Yeah, and even ask the question like, is that responsibility transferable? Or
Mhm.
by virtue of disposing of that property through a sale,
Mhm.
they defaulted on the bond?
Right.
But should we just be collecting the money from the bond and going to
And
do it?
going to do it.
Because I don't know what transferability of that is.
I read through them and there is no mention, there's no provision that says like successors or, anything along those lines. And when I mentioned it to the purchaser, the gentleman who is holding the purchase and sale right now, he said, I didn't buy New Jefferson. And I said, I understand that you didn't purchase New Jefferson, but New Jefferson holds the bonds for the Pines and you have purchased the Pines. So, I'm not a real estate attorney, I didn't want to, but so I said, I just sent him to Jason and said, this is the situation we're in. New Jefferson doesn't own the property. They're essentially just the bank or the mortgage backer for this development. And now the development has sold and where do we stand as far as those bonds go? So I will let you know what he says when he gets back to me on that. The Haynes have submitted the bills for the repairs, going back to last week's conversation, to the septic line. All the bills combined, including the Calder bill that we were waiting on, total $2,249.62. So
Those have all been paid by the Hayneses, correct?
I'm not sure if the Calder bill has been paid, but I believe all the other bills have been paid.
Nina's on. Nina, was the Calder bill paid? Did you pay the Calder bill? Oh, she froze.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, there you are.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. Do you know how to unmute? She doesn't.
We
know
can't
how to-
hear you. You have to unmute, oh, do we have to unmute her?
No, she does. There should be a little picture of her.
Okay,
Oh, there you go.
no, I have not paid the Calder bill. I just received it the day I brought it up to Karina.
Okay, the other bills that you submitted, those were paid, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, we talked about this last week. We talked about it when we were redoing the minutes, just to make it clear why the town
Right,
is,
right, right.
is
Even involved.
even involved in
Right,
this. But I would make a motion that we reimburse the Haynes for $2,249.62 pending proof of payment to all the vendors.
Second,
Any discussion?
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
So Nina, once you pay Calder, just show us proof that that bill has been paid and then we'll issue you a check for the total amount.
Okay, I'll send him out a check. Thank you.
Great, thanks,
Thanks,
Nina.
Nina.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Okay, moving forward, Highland Games reach the beach. We're gonna have a busy weekend this weekend,
Yeah.
so, Friday, there will be the beach race. They will be running through town on Route 3 going south, from about, noonish, 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 10ish at night, so, just be aware.
They're staying up on Route 3 and coming down, right?
They're staying all on Route 3, yep, they
Yeah,
are going, from, through
Through the notch.
the notch, and then they will come down on the, I wanna say it's the northbound side, but it's not, that's not technically, it's not
It's
the
the
northbound, it's
It's the southbound side.
no, they're crossing the road at Wales Tail.
Okay.
So they're running south on the northbound side of the road down
Okay.
Route 3.
Okay,
There's a police special detail at the Whale's Tail to allow them to
Excellent.
cross the road and enter into the Whale's Tail parking lot where the station is going to be. And then they will continue running down Route 3 until they get to the racetrack
oh, gotcha,
in
okay,
Woodstock, and that is their next stop after us.
gotcha.
So that's our leg, is essentially all Route 3. Is all Route 3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good, good.
And then Highland Games, obviously, will be a busy weekend with the festival goers.
Hopefully, Hurricane Lee is a tropical storm and stays way out to sea.
He's way out to sea.
Yes. Although, I think it almost always rains, Hurricane weekend.
You have to have a little bit of the Scottish kind of flag. So busy weekend in town.
Mhm.
This isn't on my report, but I would like to follow up on a couple of things. I did speak to Paul Bartlett from
Oh,
the
good.
plaza or
Yep.
the center, Lincoln North, right, North Center.
Yep.
He said, sure, you guys wanna put up a sign, that's fine.
Thank you.
So,
I'm gonna order them.
I will talk to Nate, we'll put in some sort of, I told him we were thinking of the.
There's one there already.
There is one.
says do
One
not
way
enter
or
or something,
something.
but it's faded, it's old. Or something, it says
People
something.
disregard it.
And it's nailed to a tree
It
that's
is
half
nailed.
covered by
Right.
branches, leaves most of the year, so if we could put a post up on the other side or something.
Yeah, I told him that we were thinking
Yeah.
potentially on the other side that, you know, we would put up the sign, we'd purchase it, and he said we could do that, I just would.
Yeah.
Touch base with him prior to us doing so.
Yeah.
I said,
And
"That's
it
no problem."
makes me nervous when it's right there next to that sidewalk and minimal cost.
Well, yeah, you agree,
Run
yeah,
over.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a problem
Yeah.
from day one.
Yeah.
So, so we'll get something on order and we'll try to get.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yep.
Luann Lane sidewalk extension.
Yeah.
Nate did go out there, I think you, Tammy,
I
I
did
think you
too, yeah.
drove by too,
I walked out there and. it
we
looked-
definitely,
Yeah, we need to survey it.
it definitely needs to be surveyed.
No question.
Okay,
So I reached out to Steve Tower. Steve said he might have some plans from properties in that area. So he was gonna look through his records to see what he had and then get back to me to see if we needed to do a full survey or if we could take what he
Piece
has
together
and
Yeah.
piece together what he has already.
Yeah,
So
fantastic.
he was gonna get back to me on that.
That would be good.
And then lastly, thanks to Steve Tower, I was given an appropriate contact with the Department of Transportation, the Bureau of Rights of Way, to discuss the land acquisition of that triangle piece for the new PD or potential
Mhm.
fire department or
Sure,
whatever
yeah, yeah, yeah.
development access point. So I emailed Lisa Ware is her name. She has given me the instructions that we need to do to request it's technically, they would have to deem it surplus land before it could be disposed of or sold or whatever that may be. So the first step is for us to write a letter to,
In that letter, originally, there was going to be an exit in that area, which is why Eastborough Road was so big. Remember when Mike Harrington and them came in and Jimmy Welch and got part of that, purchased part of that land because it was so wide, because they were originally going to put an exit there.
Mhm,
And then it got realigned, and instead of having one there, we got 32 and 33
Okay.
instead. And he had a lot of the history on that.
Mhm.
So that little triangle or something could have been part of that original plan that was scrapped.
sure.
And if so, it is surplus land, so maybe we could use that.
Well, and
somehow.
Steve has a note on the survey, and I can't give you the language that it says verbatim now, but it's definitely when the interstate went through, they created this small little parcel that they realized that they were no longer going to need
Mhm.
anymore. So he has a note on the survey that I'm gonna reference in the book and page and all that stuff. We have all the information that we
Oh,
need to
fantastic.
put the letter together. They did say it could take about a year and a half for the process to be fully approved, but we're not in any crunch for time
Sure.
right now. The new building is set to be on our land and our land only for now, so it's just for future development, for the emergency access point onto the highway and those type of things, but so we will
No,
get that
that's-
ball
that's
rolling as
great.
well
That's a good thing
and
to- yeah.
see where it goes.
yeah, that's a good idea to start that now. I've been through that process
Mhm.
before. And I found actually that the state was very fair and accommodating and slow.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
you know, if it takes us a year and a half to get through, but they continue to be fair, and I think it's a great process. So
Sure.
glad we're getting going on it.
Yep, so we'll get that ball rolling and see where it goes. The only other thing I have this evening that is not on your town manager's report is you will potentially see Mr. Andy Nickel working for us part-time, helping Nate out right now.
He drove by me and I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
that was Andy. Yeah,
Because Nate's a man down and he is
time crunching it, yeah.
time crunching it as much as possible with the weather. Andy has so graciously agreed to come back at his maximum 29 hours a week that New Hampshire retirement allows him to kind of help us close up some of these summer projects and get Nate ready.
Thank you, Andy.
And because especially with the paving coming this fall, there's a lot of
Yeah.
prep work that needs to be done before paving can even happen.
Yeah,
We have the couple vehicles that need to be put together before the snow flies. We have the sewer lagoon project still going on, so manpower is just short right now, so Andy's gonna come back on and help us out for another month or so to get us ready.
So working the other day with Brian on Low Black Mountain.
So it's a good thing.
Good.
yes,
Awesome.
very good thing.
And that's all I have for the moment.
I get a couple of things. One is just that, this Wednesday, day after tomorrow, there's a planning board meeting, and the planning board is meeting, at 5 o'clock in non-public session with the town attorney, Jason Dennis, just to, ask questions and get his input on the, new, the revised, I should say, South Peak Master Plan. And, you know, what the town's position was. So, I mean, I don't know if either one of you are interested, but just wanted to.
Revise South Peak Master Plan. So is South Peak revising their master plan, or is the planning board still asking them to?
The planning board had asked them to update the master plan.
Uh-huh.
They came forward with a, revision,
Mhm.
and we're just getting Jason's input on what is the planning board's, role and rights in reviewing that master plan,
Okay.
like, is it something we vote on, does it, I mean, how does it work?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we don't really know, so that's happening,
I plan to zoom into that.
okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm gonna be there
That's this Wednesday.
This one's
Yeah,
at 5, yeah.
at 5.
If you need the Zoom link, we created its own legal Zoom link for that, so it didn't melt in.
I was gonna say, you can't have a public Zoom. It's non-public, so, but.
It's not public, it's just, yeah, we created its own legal session, non-meeting Zoom link, so.
That's what it's called.
Gotcha.
So if anyone came on the meeting early, they couldn't access what we were talking
Yeah,
about.
can you email me that link and I'll try to zoom in?
Yes.
Thank you. So that, oh no, it's a non-meeting, never mind.
It's a non-meeting. And then the other thing we talked about last meeting was the planning board voted not to discuss any potential changes to the land use plan regarding short-term rentals. Is it in the domain of the Board of Selectmen to submit a petitioned article regarding land use? Or would that? You do know, is that? I know in other towns, the planning board and the selectmen sometimes fight each other, sue each other. I'm just wondering if it's acceptable for the selectmen to put in a petitioned article.
I think that a petition warrant article should be written so that it is legal and adoptable. And 25 plus concerned citizens should sign it. And I don't think that any of those signatures should belong to any of the selectmen. And that's just my opinion. And only because I don't want the select board and the planning board to be suing each other. Or squabbling or fighting or getting a pissing contest or anything else.
So who's gonna authorize the writing of a petition warrant article? I mean, if the town, if the Board of Selectmen sends it to the town attorney, doesn't matter if we signed it or not, we've put the petition together.
Yeah, but if John Q. Citizen decides he or she or they want to do it,
Mhm.
they can do it. They can have, if they choose for their own dollars to have somebody that has legal background look at it and say it's in compliance with the statutes of the RSA's, excuse me. You know, but you know, if the planning board felt, and again, I did not look at that meeting. If the planning board felt that there's no need to make any changes, why are we even discussing it, I guess?
I feel strongly that there is a need to make those changes.
What changes?
I
That's what I'm
disagree with the
asking.
planning board that the changes are to regulate where short-term rentals can be located within the town. Of course, grandfathering in all currently registered short-term rentals. But not allowing them in, and I forget the exact.
Rural
districts,
residential.
Village residential,
General residential.
however, in general use, etc., they could be allowed. And it, in my opinion, which is, you know, worth what it is. Is it gonna solve our housing issue? God, no. Will it help? I don't know, but I certainly won't hurt. If people are not buying up all these houses on Church and Maple and School and Pleasant, Franklin, et cetera. To put into the short-term rental market only. It has got to. free up more housing for some local folks and families and people that wanna work here and raise their families here, which is what we need to do, what we need to do. If you look at next year's incoming, not this year's kindergarten class, next year's incoming kindergarten class, there was one birth in town. One. For next year's incoming kindergarten class. And if you look over at the childcare center right now, there's 3 for the incoming kindergarten class. We went down, when we built that school, what, 1984? No, sorry, 1990. Because 1991 was the first year the elementary school was open. There were 414 students that year. That's why we needed to build an elementary school, because we'd outgrown one building. There are less than 260 children now. We need to do something. And is this a drop in the bucket? Maybe, but it's in the right direction. It is something to save this town, something. We have no locals left. We have there's no place to raise a family. There are no homes to live in. We need to do something. Will it help? I don't know, but it certainly can't hurt. I strongly believe we need to do something. I also don't want to see the selectmen and the planning board get in a pissing contest. We've got a long history of getting along, and I'd like that to continue.
So my question is just, should and even can the board facilitate the petition process,
I would,
or should we not and risk that it doesn't? meet
Why
our
can't-
say?
Well, and I think.
why
I think
can't
always-
somebody's husband present this petition warrant article to their peers to have it signed?
To me, the question is,
We wanna make sure it's legally enforceable. We don't want language to be put on the warrant that we can't enforce and then becomes part of our zoning ordinance that we're gonna have to strike out the
Wasn't
following.
it already discussed with the town's attorney before it was brought to the planning board?
the concept.
The-
was
yeah, the
discussed,
concept, yeah.
But not
Not
there
the
was no.
technicalities.
No, no. Yeah, there was no, yeah, the concept was, there was no definitive, this is how I would do it, here's some proposed language, you know. This is something that's enforceable.
It's a tough one. I mean, I 100% believe that the planning board was wrong.
That's not, I don't wanna discuss that. Should the board,
Oh, I don't know.
is that an NHMA question?
I mean, I can ask NHMA, but my knee-jerk reaction, they're gonna say is, that's up to you guys.
Right.
You know, I don't think there's anything that's stopping the
there
selectmen
isn't.
from putting a petition warrant article together. I think in an ideal world, if the selectmen presented something to the planning board and said, we feel strongly about this, and we would like you to weigh in and. You know, if in an ideal world, I think that would be the best way to go about it, you know, if we present something to the planning board and. We ask them to mull it over and strongly consider it, and then. Have them vote on it, and then if they then again choose to not address it, then maybe a petition warrant
Then do a
article,
petition.
right?
That's actually not a bad approach. What if we asked
Formally as a board, yeah.
asked Jason to come up with what we as a board could present to the planning
To the
board?
planning board.
Mhm.
That's, yes, please. I make a motion that we do that.
I think that, you know, then the planning board has something in their hands that we know.
Something tangible.
Something tangible that they know that has been vetted by the town's attorney that could potentially, you know, be, you know, something
ask
that
them
is
to
enforceable
reconsider.
within our regulations
Mhm.
and. You know, it kind of tees them up to make a decision one way or.
And I suppose with Jason's experience with the town of Conway. He knows what would fly
better
right off
than
the
Greg.
bat and what wouldn't fly.
He's
So, I
usually
mean, if
spot
we-
on,
If
yeah.
we're taking some of the issues that have already been discussed by the planning board. And saying, okay, can this be vetted to the point that it meets the RSA's?
Mhm.
And then if he does that and we're comfortable with it, then we take it to the planning board. Say, you know,
Ask them
we'd
to
like your
reconsider.
blessing. you know, so we support it as a body.
Right.
And, you know, as elected officials of the town.
I made a motion that we do that.
So,
All those in favor?
Aye, thank you very much. No, that's a great idea. And I feel better about that too, because then it still goes to the planning board, it's not. You know.
Right.
The fight,
we're
yeah,
not
yeah,
jamming
yeah, I like it,
anything down anybody's throat.
yeah.
And just so I am clear with my direction, when I do reach out to Jason, our goal is to limit short-term rentals in specific zones. That's our main goal right now. Correct? Yes.
That's what I see as our main goal.
Yes,
To limit in, because we can always plug in whatever zones we want, you know. After the fact, but I just
Right.
want to make sure that is our main goal, is to limit short-term rentals in specific areas.
and yeah, and I don't know what the. And I get him to go over all of it, like, is it, can we grandfather the ones that are currently registered?
We have to, he's already made that clear.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
his advice letter. All right,
Perfect.
that was the only thing I had. Do you have anything?
Where are my notes? She covered just about everything except for. I'm gonna ask you the question, was asked to me about 12 times, saying, what were you doing 21 years ago today? Yeah, do you remember where you were when you?
Absolutely. Freshman in college, I
Oh my
remember,
Holy cow,
I was a freshman in college, I remember waking up and turning on the TV and watching the second plane go through.
oh, see, I didn't have TV at the time, I remember that right before this. That summer before, my kids were stuck to the TV one day and it was beautiful, and to go outside, it was a fight, so that day I turned off cable. I didn't have any, we had a VCR that every once in a while we had movie night, and that's how old I was. And so I was headed to a meeting with some class advisors for homecoming that was coming up. And knock on the door and she's all, like, oh my God, what happened? And yeah.
I know, I was watching the front desk and everything else involved with Parker's Motel. Randy was at the Frugal Yankee. And I had like 1,000 things on my list to do, and I needed to go up to the pool and open that up, and there was people checking out, and there was laundry, like there was 1,000 things to do, and he calls me up and says, are you watching the news on TV? And all I could think was, no. Then of course my life
Yeah.
plans changed and watched, yeah.
No, I think, you know, what happened 21 years ago, 22 years ago, 2001.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 22 at 8:14 a.m. That's the exact time it happened. I got that in my mind. I know a couple people that unfortunately passed in that incident. So, I mean, I guess it's a day to reflect on our first responders
Exactly.
that, you know, helped out and saved lives, and many of them gave their life to
Yes.
save lives, but 3,000 plus. And there's still, some of them still today, side effects of causing them to pass away. So, yeah, it's a day of reflection.
Sure is.
I don't know if everyone knows, but in New Hampshire, every year,
Flags on 48.
they fly a flag on top
Yeah.
of every 4,000
Yeah.
foot mountain in the
They do.
state. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
The Interact kids did it on Moose Log.
Yeah.
this past-
Yeah,
Good, last weekend,
Yeah,
2 days ago.
yeah,
Saturday,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, no kid, I hiked Moose Log last year on
Okay.
Island. I did Liberty yesterday,
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, bunch of Rotarians went up too.
Yeah.
Double on, and then, yeah. Oh, yep.
I did
Crazy
Moose
stuff.
Log last year.
Speaking of first responders, our local first responders has had a tough couple of months.
Yeah.
We should shout out and thank them for selflessness, 4 hours on the side of the interstate in the middle of the night. Thank God, on not a regular basis, but too often. It's
There's definitely a lot
Yeah.
of tragedy this summer, and
yeah,
they have
done
done a
above
great
and
job.
beyond, yes, yeah.
So, I agree.
Yeah, thank you to all of them. Police,
Yes.
fire, ambulance, dispatch, the whole kit and caboodle. That's all I had, thank you.
All set, all right, then I'll open up for public participation.
What you got for us, Wayne?
I'm in. You're gonna say something.
Yay!
This may sound a little frivolous, compared with the subjects that you've been discussing that I've been listening to here. But have any of you seen the last Trendy Times
Mm-mm.
newsletter that came out
Yeah,
about a week and a half ago?
saw it the other day, new owners.
New owners.
Yeah.
The guy that has owned this business and printed this newsletter for years has now sold the business to his daughter.
His daughter.
And this is the first edition under her ownership. She has declared in here that she would like to expand the distribution and the effectiveness, the advertising and so forth of this newsletter.
Where is it out of?
Well, there's some interesting numbers. 9,000 copies
Yeah,
of this.
The distribution is 9,000, right?
9,000 every 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
The town of Lincoln and Woodstock, 10 distribution points, 6 of them are here in Lincoln. We get about 1,000 of these between our two towns every 2 weeks. That means that over 20,000 copies of this are distributed, most of it going to the town of Lincoln annually.
Hmm.
And yet, if you look through this newsletter, there isn't one advertisement from any of our vendors, no hotels, no restaurants, no businesses here. If you look at the list of events that are taking place, everything is focused on Woodsville. There is nothing in here that would even make us think that Lincoln Woodstock even exists. And yet, she put together a page here with a map of the area that are supposed to be covered by this newsletter, and it clearly includes Littleton, Route 93, Lincoln, and Woodstock. And as I say, Woodstock has 4 distribution places, Lincoln has 6. So it appears that we are not in this town using this newsletter. I believe this newsletter is the only newsletter in this whole area of New Hampshire that is published.
Is it,
Um,
is it, it's
There's
a
the other one that
free?
comes out with that too.
Oh, gotcha.
That's, you know.
What is it, like the old penny saver? Like
Yeah, the penny saver.
Yeah, the penny
The
saver.
penny saver comes out, I think, at the same time that
Yes,
this.
it does. Yes, it does.
There's
I'll be honest, I've
this-
never heard of the trendy
I haven't either.
until today.
You've never heard of it.
No, nope.
I just read it the other day.
20,000 of these are piled
Right,
in the grocery store
that's my fire.
and at Riverfront and are distributed out.
Oh, yeah.
And according to this lady, 96% of those are picked up and taken home. So they don't have a lot of them left over when she puts these out there.
Hmm.
So here's a newsletter that is completely ignoring our town. And I'm just wondering, with this new ownership, all this letter that comes down to the fact that there's new ownership, is that an opportunity to open up a relationship with this new editor and see how we could use this to more effectively communicate things that are going on? For example, would it make sense that we send every month a list of events and activities that are taking place to this newsletter? And this is printed in Woodsville. Would it make sense to send that list there and have in here, instead of just the towns that are in the western part of the state, have Lincoln and the events that are taking place in Lincoln? Is there an opportunity here under this new ownership to use this as a vehicle to better communicate within our town? It's not a position, I'm just making a suggestion. Are we all aware there's new ownership here? She's reaching out and saying, I want to do more, I want to expand. And since we have nothing, I mean, if you go through this, there's a list of events.
Never seen it before.
Lincoln is not in any of this. It's as though we don't even exist in a newsletter where over 20,000 copies are distributed in our town and picked up by people, somebody,
Wow.
just an awareness, that's all.
Wait, I think on the front page there in the last paragraph, she indicates she'd like to expand. And she's looking for people to contact her about new ideas because her father's still gonna be involved. I think she said her mother was too.
Yeah, he's gonna be her advisor for a
Yeah.
while, but she's actually taken over ownership.
Yeah.
according to And Jack, that's exactly why I'm bringing it up, because she's reaching out and saying, I'd like to do things a
Right.
little bit different. It doesn't make sense to have a town like Lincoln with all of the activities we have. I mean, we're a full four-season resort compared with the towns, bless their soul, Woodsville and some of these other places. And this is not being utilized by any of the people down here.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Wayne Balza to be the Blue Mountain correspondent to the Trenton Times.
I think it would be good to point out to Kim at the chamber and Cheryl at White Mountain Attractions and just pass on the information to them as well.
Do you folks know any reason why this is so biased towards the towns like?
Because that's where it's printed, I'm sure. That's where it's printed. I just looked it up. Their address is in Woodsville, 20 Pine Street, Woodsville.
Yep.
That's where they live.
I mean, I can't find a single advertisement in here.
I've never seen that before. I've lived here for 40-something odd years. I've never seen it before.
Price drop, I've been there.
All I pick up is the coupon thing.
It's like 20,000 copies that's distributed just in Lincoln.
Yeah.
I've read every.
I used to pick up the penny saver and there was the other one too, years
White
ago.
Mountain Shop.
Yeah, the White Mountain Shopper, and then, of course, you get the Littleton Courier,
Courier,
but
yeah.
the free ones were Penny Saver and White Mountain Shopper, yeah.
Sure.
Never seen that.
Yep.
No,
I don't know.
interesting. I know there's one in the Lakes region too.
You know, it's good awareness that you brought that up, and I mean, town. I like the idea of contacting the two
Yeah,
institutions. that-
Chambers, yeah.
The chamber and the White Mountain Attractions, but you know, when we're running. National Night Out,
Yeah.
events, it wouldn't hurt to
the school, put
Post that
put a,
school events.
like the sports schedule or something in that for the school that would be a great thing to do
You know,
too.
We are so lucky to be here. We have our own racetrack here in Woodstock. And I talk to people in this town, they said, you know, we have a racetrack. No, I don't know anything about it. Well, can't you hear it Saturday night?
Oh,
I can hear it at my house.
I'm here at my house.
Whale's Tail is one of the top 15 biggest water parks in the United States. And there's nothing in here that says anything about water parks, that says anything about Loon Mountain Ski Area, that says anything about having a racetrack. It talks about any of the amenities. I mean, the Hobo Railroad and dinner train, sightseeing. So got so many things here. And this is not,
But it's a Woodsville paper. I mean, they live in Woodsville and they write about Woodsville. If they were centered here, then it would
I
be,
mean, I would agree,
Yeah.
that's the way they want to look at it, but she's opened the door here by putting a map.
yeah, sure,
And she's listed here all of the distribution.
that she'd like to, that's great, that she wants to expand. I love it.
10%, those 9,000 copies of this that are sent out every 2 weeks are being sent here.
Hmm.
That's about over almost 20,000 copies of this distributed in our town. And yet there's nothing in here that shows that if we have events or that, I mean, why isn't Dave Rogers, for example? He's got one of the biggest ski shops in northern New Hampshire. Why doesn't he run an ad and have people would come over from inside Woodsville or something to buy a pair of skis? I'm just saying, this may be an opportunity. This lady's reaching out and saying, I'd like to do things a little differently. I'd like to expand. And certainly looking at what's in here. It's all about Woods. And there's nothing in here about Lincoln and Woodstock, other than we're getting thousands of copies of this. Someone's picking them up and reading them. And there's nothing in here about our communities. So
Starting the fires with them.
that's my rant for the day.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
I
Is
think
it-
what would be particularly helpful would be a list of events taking place.
Agreed.
For example, there is no advertisement in this town about the Highland Games. I wouldn't even know they exist if I didn't drive up there and see all the tents being put up and haven't seen this go on for many years.
Right.
There's nothing, we've got things that we could just give them a list every month of all of the events that are taking place in the town. And start with something like that.
Yeah, I will,
Anyway,
talk to Kim and or Cheryl about that, because they compile.
Yep.
event list, just by virtue of what they do.
Yeah, right.
Right, exactly.
No, that's a good idea, thank you,
Yeah.
Wayne. Good, Paul?
Yeah, I have a few questions for you tonight. So in regards to the water tank for South Peak, does the town have something memorialized in writing as to what the town is getting with respect to the installation of this tank? Are we getting a certain amount of water? Are we getting a certain amount of pressure? What are we getting for the taxpayers' investment? And so that it doesn't get lost in the future and someone says, well, who owns that tank? I know the town was gonna own a tank. How much water are we supposed to be getting for that? Or is it all reserved for South Peak? Is there something memorialized somewhere in writing that says that?
There's going to be construction documents and all of that as far as how many gallons it holds and what elevation it's at and what size pipe there is and,
What it's gonna serve.
yeah, what
Yeah,
zone
but-
serve, and
Yeah.
all of that.
OJ, but I'm talking about the supply of water that's in it. So, I mean, and I'll guess I could clarify by asking the question. So if South Peak is able to build more units over there besides 1,018 down the road, because that tank can supply the water, or is that the water that's in that tank available for firefighting capabilities within the town and other places?
Yes,
That tank is just like the Forest Ridge tank, the Indian Head tank, and the Loon Village tank, in that it's gonna be a town water supply. There's not any percentages broken out as to who uses what or how much is for firefight, it's just a tank.
But it's a tank that the taxpayers in Lincoln are funding, partial. I mean,
Partially.
a significant contribution to that tank. So there ought to be something, I would think, that says what they're gonna get for it. Karina, are you just turning the lights back on, or were you?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what
I
I'm
tried
trying
to-
to
I mean, it's definitely going to help with needed.
it's not only just serving South Peak, it's also helping our main pressure
Yes,
zone. There is
exactly.
a formula that is essentially I'm not gonna be able to articulate it well.
There's engineering data that was used to determine the size and the elevation and the pipe size. And what it would do for the main zone.
Right.
And what it can do as a backup for the village zone.
Correct.
Including.
So I guess, yeah, there is documentation, it's all an engineer's
I
calculation.
just want to make sure that, right, I just want to make sure that should that start to change, in other words, if it was going to give a certain amount of pressure in the main pressure zone, if it started to drop that pressure, then it would mean that you can't have any more development until something is either increased or not. I mean, to just say there's a tank there and it's a free for all, and free for all what was the wrong word, but I mean, if there's a tank there, there should be some sort of guidelines as to what it's for, how it's going to be used, and it should be signed off. I mean, because I know that South Peak has contributed land and access. So, I mean, normally when you partner up with somebody, there's a definitive, this is what we're going to get, this is what you're going to get. And I think it's great that the tank's going in. I just think that you need to have something so that down the road, there are some parameters set for that.
Okay,
I would hope you were gonna do that. As far as the tank itself, Karina, I'm not sure it was you or OJ, but you said there were two companies that were gonna bid on it, could possibly bid. Was that just in the state of New Hampshire, or would you put it out interstate and check like surrounding state people who can do that work as well?
Yeah, there are two major players. I don't know their exact location, but there are two major players that Sam Kenny had mentioned.
Were
And
those just in the state of New Hampshire, or was within New England?
I don't know, Pop.
Okay, I would just suggest that if you're gonna try and get pricing, that it not be just in the state of New Hampshire, that maybe you reach out broader than that, because there are a lot of other companies that are maybe not just in New Hampshire.
Okay.
yeah, we'll go through the regular bid process for something like this.
Yeah. And who were, could I ask, who were the contractors that met the qualifications for the new safety services building? You said there were 5, I think. I'm not quite sure, but who were they? Can you?
Yeah, I can tell you their names, Harvey Construction. Ritchie Construction, RICCI Construction.
Yeah.
BPS, Bonnet Page and.
On the page and stone, yeah.
Engelberth Construction,
Angle, can you spell angle?
ENGELBERTH, Engelberth.
That's 4.
BPS, Harvey, Turnstone Corporation.
Turnstone.
Oh, that's pretty good off the top of your head.
Thank you.
Very good.
Very good, Karina. And also on the paving projects that Nate had, did he receive competitive bidding for this, or was it all just done?
No, we received one back from GMI. I know he's still waiting for one from Pike. So yeah, we're definitely getting quotes. He's not just going.
Competitive, all right. And on the Cank Rec meeting that they're gonna have, I think I heard Jack say that he got an invite. Did you say that, Jack?
There was an email that came out, that said that
Yeah.
there was.
Well, I gotta tell you, as an abutter, I never received any email. And all I'm saying is that if you're gonna hold a meeting like this, I would suggest that you look who the abutters are to it and maybe send them a personal email. So that they know. I found out because of the town website, so I wrote it on my calendar, but there may be others who did not do that. And it might be a nice thing to send it out to the abutters.
Oh, I didn't send anything out, Paul. I just received it. I don't even know who sent it to me, to be very honest with you.
Friends of Rec.
Well, okay, so Tammy, if you're on Friends Rec, maybe you could suggest that they send something out to the abutters so that they know when the meeting is gonna be. I'm not sure that, I'm sure they may or may not know, but it would be nice to send it out to the abutters. OJ, I think the planning board voted the other night, and the Board of Selectmen can take their stand on the short-term rentals. But I find it very subjective that you choose to put one board against another. They voted, and they voted in good conscience, and I think what you're doing is stirring the pot. And I don't agree with that, and I think you're wrong. And we don't need to go any further than that, but I gotta tell you, I think what you're doing is wrong. As far as the trending times, I think the trending times is a great thing. But I do believe that the trending times could be like the Littleton Courier used to be, like a Mike Dickerman. If they really want to get involved in what's going on in other towns, they can come to meetings, they can zoom in, they can find out all the information they want. So if they're not advertising Lincoln, it's because they don't choose to put the time into it. I mean, there's enough available information, for example, tonight at this meeting. And I think that they could zoom in on meetings from Lincoln as anybody can. But, there's got to be some interest to do that. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else for public participation? Do you have any employee updates or?
I can give you a brief one. I don't have much to tell you, but I can give you a status update.
Good, then let's do that. Let's go into non-public just for one employee update or issue. I'll make that motion.
Sorry.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye, Wayne, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Have a good night.